This story is titled, My Family Took Holiday, Hosting for Granted Until I Canceled It. After they excluded me from a family trip, and now they are begging. Hey everyone, figured I'd drop this here because my life feels like it was made for a Reddit post. So I, 35 male, have basically been my family's personal holiday bitch for the past 15 years. No exaggeration. Every freaking holiday. Thanksgiving, Christmas, Easter, 4th of July, Labor Day, Memorial Day. All at my place. And I'm not just talking about providing the location. I'm talking about everything. The shopping, cooking, cleaning, decorating, the whole damn package. It's crazy looking back at how it all started. I was in my early 20s, just got my first decent job out of college, and managed to buy a modest house before the market went insane. Nothing fancy, just a 3-bedroom in a decent neighborhood with an open floor plan and a backyard big enough for a grill. But compared to my siblings' crappy apartments, it was a palace. My parents lived out of state, moved to Arizona for my dad's job, while my siblings were scattered across the city in various apartments after college. My brother Jason was in some shoebox studio downtown that barely fit his gaming setup, and my sister Lisa was constantly moving between roommate situations that inevitably imploded because she's, well, Lisa. Back then, I actually kinda enjoyed hosting. Made me feel like a real adult, you know? I'd get all excited about making those perfect turkeys and setting up those fancy Christmas trees. I'd spend hours on YouTube learning how to make gravy that didn't come from a packet. I even bought one of those turkey fryers that's probably caused more house fires than any other kitchen appliance. My neighbors must have thought I was insane, standing out there in the cold watching that thing like it might explode any second. Looking back, I was such a dumbass. The first few years weren't too bad, which usually meant a half-melted box of chocolates or a last-minute grocery store dessert, or a plant they grabbed from the store on their way over. Jason would bring cheap beer and drink most of it himself. Lisa would show up with some Pinterest fail appetizer that looked like something a 5-year-old made in art class. My parents would at least bring decent wine, but then complain about how I stored or served it. Help with cleanup? About as common as finding a unicorn taking a dump in your backyard. I still remember one Thanksgiving when Jason actually offered to help with dishes, which meant he rinsed exactly 2 plates, put them in the dishwasher wrong, then declared, that should take care of it, and went back to watching football. Or the time Lisa decided to organize my kitchen, which just meant moving shit around so I couldn't find anything for weeks. But whatever, I was young and had energy to burn. Plus, it felt good being the good son who kept the family together. My mom would brag to her friends about my cooking. My dad would give me that approving nod when he saw everyone having a good time. Even my siblings seemed grateful, in their own half-assed ways. Little did I know I was creating a monster that would eat the next decade and a half of my holidays. Like, if I could go back in time and talk to my 22-year-old self, I'd grab him by the shoulders and be like, dude, stop, now, this is a trap. But nope, I kept at it. Year after year, I'd take those Instagram-worthy photos of everyone around my table, eating my food, enjoying my hospitality. I'd post that shit online and get all those likes and comments like, your family is so lucky to have you. Meanwhile, I'd be running on 3 hours of sleep after staying up till 2 a.m., prepping everything. Each year, the expectations grew. It wasn't enough to just make a turkey. No, it had to be a brined, stuffed, perfectly golden brown turkey that would make Gordon Ramsay weep with joy. The sides multiplied too. Started with just mashed potatoes and gravy. Then suddenly I'm expected to make 5 different vegetable dishes, 3 types of dinner rolls, and enough desserts to put a bakery out of business. And God forbid I try to change anything. The one year I suggested we do something different for Thanksgiving. Maybe order from a restaurant or do a potluck where everyone actually brings something substantial. You'd think I'd suggested we sacrifice the family pet. My mom got all quiet and disappointed. But honey, everyone looks forward to your Thanksgiving turkey. My dad just grunted and said, it's tradition now. Jason acted like I'd canceled Christmas. And Lisa started talking about how her friends' families do these amazing home-cooked spreads. So I caved, like I always did, because saying no somehow made me the bad guy. The worst part? They'd show up exactly when the food was ready. Not a minute before to help, not even to keep me company while I cooked. Just magically appear right as I was putting the last dish on the table. Then they'd eat like they hadn't seen food in weeks, complain about something minor, gravy's a little lumpy this year, and then park their asses in front of the TV while I cleaned up. Sometimes I'd drop hints. Man, these dishes sure are piling up. Or, could use an extra hand with these leftovers. They'd either not hear me over the TV or give me some BS like, we'll help in a minute, which never came. After a few years, I stopped even asking. It was just easier to do it all myself than deal with the half-assed attempts at help that usually created more work. And that's how I became the designated holiday host. Not because I was especially good at it, though I did get pretty damn good at cooking, but because no one else wanted to do it. And I was too much of a pushover to say no. So that's how the first few years went. Then things started changing, and not in a good way. Those half-assed offers to bring stuff completely disappeared. My house being holiday central became some kind of unwritten law of the universe. And the work? Holy crap. It just kept growing like some kind of monster from a sci-fi movie. Let me tell you about my family in more detail because you gotta understand what I was dealing with here. My older brother Jason thinks he's chef if he successfully microwaves a bag of popcorn without burning it. I'm dead serious. One time he called me to ask how to boil pasta. I was like, dude, it says right on the package, boil water, add pasta. He goes, yeah, but like, how much water? This is a 37-year-old man with a college degree who can't figure out how to boil pasta without a freaking consultation. My sister Lisa once set off every smoke alarm in a 5-mile radius, trying to boil water. Not even exaggerating. She forgot she put the kettle on, went to take a shower, and the thing boiled dry and started smoking. Had to call the fire department and everything. Her excuse? I got distracted by a TikTok notification. She now lives exclusively on takeout and protein bars. And my parents? They're supervisory types, which is just a fancy way of saying they'll tell you everything you're doing wrong while their asses stay firmly planted on the couch. My dad will literally sit there with his feet up, pointing at stuff saying you missed a spot while I'm vacuuming. My mom will hover behind me in the kitchen going, that's not how I do it, for literally every step of cooking a meal. So it was all on me. Every single time. I'd start prepping days before any holiday. My grocery lists were longer than the terms and conditions nobody reads. I'd hit up like 3 different stores because I'd always forget something important or one store wouldn't have the right brand of whatever. Then I'd spend hours chopping stuff, mixing stuff, cooking stuff. My kitchen looked like a war zone. I once dropped an entire gallon of milk and spent 45 minutes cleaning it up while the timer for my pie crust was going off, and my phone was blowing up with texts from family asking what time dinner would be ready. And where was everyone else during this mess? Chilling in the living room, watching sports, catching up, having a good time. Sometimes someone would wander into my kitchen, grab some food I just prepared, and ask, need any help? But it was never a real offer. If I actually said, yeah, could you chop these onions? They'd disappear faster than my will to live. Jason would suddenly remember an urgent email he had to send. Lisa would get a super important call she had to take. Mom would somehow throw her back out at that exact moment. Dad would just grunt and say, that's not really my department. The excuses got more creative each year. One time, Jason claimed he had an onion allergy. On Thanksgiving. After I'd watched him eat onion rings like 3 days before. Lisa once told me she couldn't help with dishes because she just got her nails done, as if they'd melt off her fingers if they touched soapy water. My mom once said she couldn't help set the table because she was saving her energy for socializing. What does that even mean? I think the worst was when I had the flu one Thanksgiving. Like legitimately sick with a 101-degree fever. Did they offer to take over? To maybe host at one of their places instead? Nope. My mom once suggested I just keep it simple this year, which apparently meant only making turkey, mashed potatoes, gravy, stuffing, green bean casserole, cranberry sauce, and pumpkin pie instead of the usual spread. How very considerate. I dragged myself out of bed at 6 a.m. with a fever to put the turkey in the oven. I cooked while taking Dayquil and chugging Gatorade. I had to step outside multiple times because the smells were making me nauseous. And you know what my family did when they arrived? Complained that I didn't make the sweet potato casserole with the marshmallows on top that Lisa loves. I wanted to flip the entire table. Over time, my resentment grew like a snowball rolling downhill. Every holiday, I'd promise myself, this is the last time. But then my mom would call a few months later with, so we're all counting on Thanksgiving at your place again this year? And I'd cave like a house of cards in a hurricane. The worst part was watching other families on social media. Friends posting pictures of their holiday gatherings where everyone brought dishes and helped clean up. Coworkers talking about how they rotate hosting duties among siblings each year. People with actual functional families who understood that holidays should be enjoyable for everyone, not just the guests. I tried dropping hints. I tried being direct. Nothing worked. One year, I made a detailed spreadsheet assigning specific tasks to each family member for Thanksgiving. I sent it out 2 weeks in advance. I thought I was being smart. On the day of, exactly 0 of those tasks were done. When I brought it up, Jason claimed he never saw the email, despite responding to it. Lisa said she assumed someone else would handle her tasks, and my parents acted like the whole thing was a silly suggestion rather than an actual request for help. Another time, I tried to be super explicit. I called my mom and said, "Mom, I really need everyone to help this year. I can't do it all myself anymore." She said, "Of course, honey, we'll all pitch in." Then she showed up with my dad an hour late because they got caught up watching a movie on TV. The most help I got was Jason carrying the turkey from the kitchen to the dining room table, which he acted like deserved a Medal of Honor. After about a decade of this, I started noticing a new pattern. The comments and criticisms were getting worse. It wasn't just "the gravy's a little lumpy" anymore. Now it was, "Remember that Thanksgiving at Aunt Carol's when she made that amazing cranberry relish? This is good too, though." Or "My coworker's wife makes her stuffing with chestnuts and it's to die for. Maybe you should try that next time." But what really pissed me off, they started inviting people without telling me. One Christmas, my brother brought his new girlfriend and her parents. Just showed up with them. No warning. I had to scramble to find extra chairs, plates, utensils. I ran out of ham, so I had to eat leftover pizza from the night before, while everyone else enjoyed the meal I'd spent 2 days preparing. Lisa once invited her entire book club to Easter brunch. 6 extra people. She texted me the night before. When I called her freaking out, she said, "It's fine. They'll just have whatever's available." As if I could magically multiply my carefully planned meal for our family of 6 to suddenly accommodate 12 people. By year 15, I was done. So completely done. I was spending thousands of dollars a year on these holiday meals. I was using all my vacation days to prep and recover. I was stressing myself to the point of getting sick. And for what? To be taken for granted? To be criticized? To watch my family stuff their faces and then leave me with the mess? But they already took it as a habit. They know that when any holiday arrives, the host will be in my house, so it became a tradition, and breaking it abruptly would cause chaos. So there I was, mid-October last year, already making my lists for Thanksgiving like the holiday doormat I'd become. I was at Costco, loading up my cart with shit that wouldn't even go bad before the holiday. Paper towels, those disposable aluminum roasting pans, and some decent whiskey to help me cope with the impending family invasion. I was in the baking aisle trying to remember if I still had enough vanilla extract at home when I literally bumped carts with my cousin Megan. We don't talk much, but she's cool. She's my aunt's kid, lives across town, has a normal job at some marketing firm. We're Facebook friends, but that's about it. We did the whole, "Hey, how's it going" thing. Normal small talk. Then she drops this on me. "So I heard everyone's going to Florida for Uncle Frank's birthday, the weekend before Thanksgiving? That must be tough timing for you with all the prep you'll need to do for hosting when they get back. Will you have enough time?" I just stood there like an idiot, frozen in the middle of Costco, holding a 32-ounce bottle of vanilla, which is way too much vanilla. But the price per ounce was good? Okay. "What Florida trip?" I asked, trying not to sound as confused as I felt. Megan got this look on her face like she just realized she stepped in dog crap. Her eyes got wide, and she started doing that nervous laugh thing people do when they know they've said something they shouldn't have. "Oh shit. You didn't know? Everyone's going to Orlando for Uncle Frank's 65th birthday. A whole weekend thing at that resort with the golf courses. Your parents, Jason, Lisa, everyone. I figured they'd told you. Uncle Frank is my dad's brother. He's actually pretty cool. Retired military. Tells great stories. Always slips me an extra $50 at Christmas." But I hadn't heard a damn thing about any birthday trip to Florida. "Nope," I said, trying to keep my voice casual. "First I'm hearing about it. When is this happening?" "Weekend before Thanksgiving," Megan said, looking increasingly uncomfortable. "They're flying out Friday morning and coming back Monday night. Frank rented some big house near the resort. I think Lisa posted about it in the family group chat?" Ah, yes. The family group chat that I was mysteriously removed from about 6 months ago after I called out Jason for never paying me back for the Christmas present we supposedly went in on together for our parents. They claimed it was a technical glitch, but somehow never got around to adding me back. My brain was buffering hard. My entire family was planning a weekend vacation to Florida, literally days before Thanksgiving, and nobody had bothered to mention it to me. Not a word. But the best part? From what Megan was saying, they were still 100% expecting me to host Thanksgiving when they got back. They just didn't think it was worth mentioning to me. I thanked Megan for the info, made some joke about classic family communication to ease the tension, and finished my shopping on autopilot. My mind was racing faster than a squirrel on espresso. The more I thought about it, the more pissed off I got. They were taking a family vacation without even inviting me, then coming back expecting me to slave away for days preparing their holiday meal like nothing happened. And they were keeping it a secret. It wasn't like they'd invited me and I couldn't go. They straight up excluded me. I drove home with the radio off, just thinking. This wasn't a new thing. This was just the most obvious, egregious example of how little they considered me. I started mentally cataloging all the other times they'd pulled similar crap. Like the time they all went to a baseball game together, but didn't invite me because you're not really into sports. I played baseball for 4 years in high school. Or when they had a spontaneous family dinner at my parents' favorite restaurant when they were visiting town, but somehow forgot to call me until they were already on dessert. We tried calling, but you didn't pick up, they claimed, though my phone showed no missed calls. By the time I got home and unloaded my groceries, I'd worked up a full head of steam. Part of me wanted to call them out immediately, text the family and say, "So heard about Florida. Nice of you to include me." But another part of me, a more calculating part I didn't usually listen to, suggested a different approach. I decided to test the waters. I pulled out my phone and called Uncle Frank. "Hey, kid." "What's up?" he answered, sounding genuinely happy to hear from me. "Hey, Uncle. Just wanted to say happy early birthday," I said, keeping my voice casual. "I heard about the Florida trip. Sounds like an awesome time. I wish I could have made it, but you know how it is, work and all." There was a pause on the line. "Wait, you were invited?" I kept my tone light. "Yeah, but things got crazy on my end and I had to back out. Sucks, I would have loved to celebrate with you." Uncle Frank sighed. "Man, I wish you'd told me sooner. I didn't even know you weren't coming. I just assumed you couldn't make it. Your dad made it sound like everyone was set, and I figured you were busy, like always." I clenched my jaw but forced a chuckle. "Yeah, you know how it is." Frank hesitated. "You sure you were invited?" "I mean, I told your dad to get the whole family together. It wouldn't have been the same without you." And there it was. They hadn't just left me out. They didn't even mention me to Frank. "Well, what matters is that you have an amazing time," I said smoothly. "You deserve it. I hope the whole trip is great." "Thanks, kid. But I gotta say, I wish I'd known. We could have made something work. You should have been there." "Yeah," I said, staring at the wall. "I should have." After we hung up, I sat in silence for a moment, phone still in my hand. My own uncle assumed I was part of the plans because that's what a normal family does. Includes everyone. But not mine. They'd left me out on purpose. Any last shred of doubt I had evaporated. I wasn't imagining things. This wasn't a simple oversight. They hadn't forgotten. I had been deliberately cut out, while still expect me to host Thanksgiving like nothing happened. That's when I started to think, what if I just played along? What if I let them think everything was normal? Let them enjoy their secret family vacation, and then gave them a taste of their own medicine? That night, my phone buzzed with a text from my dad. "Thanksgiving at your place as usual, right? Looking forward to it." I stared at that text for a long time. This was it. The final straw that broke the camel's back. The last nail in the holiday coffin. The point of no return. Whatever cliche you want to use, that was it for me. I looked around my kitchen, already filling up with Thanksgiving supplies. All the crap I'd accumulated over 15 years of being the family holiday bitch. It was time for a change. A big one. But I wasn't going to tip my hand. Not yet. If they could keep secrets, so could I. For the first time in 15 years, I felt a sense of power. They thought they knew exactly what I was going to do. Slave away preparing their post-vacation feast while they relaxed and recovered from their fun family trip that I wasn't invited to. But they had no idea what was actually coming. I smiled to myself as I typed my response. "Yep, Thanksgiving at my place. Can't wait to see everyone. Just make sure you're not too tired from your Florida trip." His response came quick. "Great. And how did you hear about Florida?" No apology. No explanation for why I wasn't invited. No acknowledgement that maybe, just maybe, it was weird to exclude one family member from a big trip and then expect them to host everyone days later. Just surprised that I found out about their little secret. "Ran into Megan yesterday. She mentioned it. Sounds fun. When were you gonna tell me?" 3 dots appeared. Disappeared. Appeared again. I could practically hear the gears turning in his head as he tried to come up with a reasonable explanation. Finally, it came together last minute. "Didn't think you'd be interested since you're always so busy. We'll tell you all about it at Thanksgiving," I replied. "Can't wait to hear all about it. I've got some special plans for Thanksgiving this year. It's going to be unforgettable." And it sure as hell was going to be. The next day, I started doing some research. Not for Thanksgiving recipes, screw that noise, but for what I could do for myself over the holiday. I'd never actually traveled during Thanksgiving before. I was always chained to my kitchen like some kind of holiday prisoner. But what if I just left? What if I took a vacation of my own? I checked out a few different options. Hotels were expensive, flights were worse. Who knew holiday travel was so pricey? Oh, right, everyone except me. But then I found this sweet cabin rental about 3 hours away in the mountains. 4 bedrooms, hot tub, fire pit, and completely isolated. Perfect. I texted a few dudes to see if they might be interested in a Thanksgiving getaway. These are people who've heard me complain about my family's holiday BS for years and were always telling me to stand up for myself. Within an hour, 3 of them were all in. I booked the cabin on the spot. Non-refundable. No going back now. For the next couple of days, I had this weird sense of calm, like when you finally decide to quit a job you hate and you're just serving out your 2 weeks' notice. I knew something big was coming, and for once, I was in control. Meanwhile, my family was going about their business, completely clueless. Lisa texted to ask if she could bring her new boyfriend to Thanksgiving. He's vegan, but he'll eat turkey on holidays. Sure, Lisa, whatever you say. Jason called to ask if I was making the special stuffing he likes, which is literally just regular stuffing with extra sausage in it. The lazy ass could make it himself with minimal effort. Of course, wouldn't forget your favorite, I told him. Mom emailed a list of her dietary restrictions that seemed to change every holiday. This year she was avoiding dairy, gluten, and nightshades, but apparently sweet potato casserole with marshmallows was still fine because it's traditional. Sure, that makes sense. Every message, every call, I just kept up the act. Yes, I'm making that. No problem. Can't wait to see you all. It was almost fun in a twisted way, like I was in on a joke that no one else knew about. The week before their Florida trip, my mom called to check in about Thanksgiving. So, honey, we'll be back late Monday night from Orlando. Frank is really looking forward to having everyone there for his birthday. Everyone except me, I said, keeping my tone light. There was a slight pause. Well, you know how it is. It was hard to coordinate everyone's schedules, and you had to plan and prepare for Thanksgiving like every year. Fun fact, I have the most flexible schedule in the family. I literally work from home 3 days a week. Sure, I understand, I lied. How many people are going? Oh, just the immediate family. Me, your dad, Jason, and his girlfriend Lisa? So, like the entire immediate family. Except me. Another pause. Well, and Frank's kids and their families, of course. It's not a big thing, really. Not a big thing. Just a weekend trip to Florida that I wasn't invited to. Got it. Sounds fun, I said. I'm sure Uncle Frank will love it. He will. Now about Thanksgiving. Dad is hoping you'll make your famous deep-fried turkey again. The one you did 2 years ago? Everyone raved about it. I remembered that turkey. I nearly gave myself third-degree burns making it. The oil splashed and almost caught fire. Jason had watched from the deck, beer in hand, offering helpful commentary like, "Careful, that looks hot." "We'll see," I said. "I might try something different this year." "Oh," she sounded disappointed. "Well, I'm sure whatever you decide will be fine. Just don't forget that cranberry relish I like, the one with the orange zest, not the canned stuff." "Right. Heaven forbid I serve canned cranberry sauce like some kind of animal." "Don't worry, Mom. This Thanksgiving will be one to remember." At least I wasn't lying about that part. After we hung up, I stood in my kitchen looking at all the Thanksgiving paraphernalia I'd accumulated over the years. The turkey-shaped salt and pepper shakers, the fall-themed table runner, the special oversized platter just for the turkey. So much crap that I only used once a year for people who couldn't even be bothered to invite me on their family vacation. I started laughing. Not like normal laughter. More like the kind of laughter that makes neighbors call the police. It was just so absurd. All these years, all this effort, and for what? For a family that saw me as the holiday help? The Florida trip was that weekend. I watched their social media posts start popping up. Dad and Uncle Frank on the golf course. Mom by the pool. Lisa taking selfies with Mickey Mouse ears on. Jason doing shots at some bar with his girlfriend. All of them posting about what an amazing family weekend they were having. Not one of them messaged me privately. It was like I didn't exist until they needed me to cook them dinner. They got back Tuesday night before Thanksgiving. My mom called as soon as they landed. "We had the most wonderful time in Florida. The weather was perfect, and your father really enjoyed catching up with Frank. They played golf every day. Lisa got a bit too much sun, and Jason's girlfriend got food poisoning from some seafood place, but otherwise it was just lovely." "Sounds great," I said, laying on my couch and mindlessly flipping through Netflix. "How was the resort?" She kept talking about the trip. Then I waited. I waited for her to say something, anything, about why I wasn't invited. Nothing. Instead, she smoothly transitioned to Thanksgiving plans. "Now for Thursday, what time should we all come over?" "The usual 3 p.m.? That gives us time to watch the parade and still have the afternoon for football. How about 3 p.m.? I said calmly. That'll give me time to get everything ready. After hanging up, I sent a quick text to my friends confirming our cabin plans. We were all set to leave Thursday morning. I'd already put in for Friday off work, so I had a nice 4-day weekend ahead of me. 4 days of no family drama, no cooking for ungrateful relatives, and no pretending everything was fine. Wednesday night, I packed my car with everything I needed for the cabin trip. I cleaned my house, force of habit, took out the garbage, didn't want to come home to that smell, and set my thermostat to vacation mode. I didn't leave a note. I didn't prepare any food. I didn't set the table. For once, I did absolutely nothing for them. That night, I had trouble sleeping. Not because I felt guilty, but because I was excited. I was breaking free from the expectation that I would sacrifice my own happiness for people who couldn't even be bothered to include me in family events. As I finally drifted off to sleep, I imagined the looks on their faces when they realized what I'd done. The confusion, the panic, the dawning realization that they'd finally pushed me too far. It was going to be glorious. Thanksgiving morning arrived. I took a quick shower, got dressed in my comfiest clothes for the drive, and did one final check of the house. No dishes in the sink. Thermostat turned down. All lights off except the porch light, which I left on as a nice touch, so they could clearly see the empty house they were locked out of. By 7:30, I was on the road. I stopped at this little diner about 20 minutes from my house for breakfast. The place was practically empty. Everyone was at home starting their Thanksgiving cooking marathon. I ordered the biggest breakfast they had. The waitress asked if I was traveling for the holiday, and I said, yeah, going to meet some friends. She seemed surprised, probably because people don't usually leave their families on Thanksgiving, but whatever. For once, I was doing what I wanted. I hit the highway with a full stomach and a killer playlist. About an hour into the drive, my friends started texting to coordinate. Everyone was in high spirits, making jokes about how much better this would be than our usual family dramas. I was getting excited texts about the hot tub, the hiking trails nearby, and the massive TV perfect for watching football. Not one message asking me to cook a damn thing. This was already the best Thanksgiving ever. Around noon, I pulled up to the cabin. It was even better than the pictures. Dude, this is amazing, I said, feeling a weight lifting off my shoulders with every minute I spent away from my usual Thanksgiving hell. Right? And the best part is no one's asking you to cook a 20-pound turkey, Dave said, knowing my family situation all too well. At exactly 3 p.m., when my family would be arriving at my empty house, I turned my phone off. I didn't want to see the barrage of confused and angry messages just yet. I was imagining them scramble like a group of Sims when you remove the doors from a room. We spent the afternoon watching football, soaking in the hot tub, playing cards, and just relaxing. No family drama, just good friends enjoying each other's company. Around 8 p.m., slightly buzzed and extremely content, I decided to check my phone. I turned it on and waited as the notifications flooded in. 27 missed calls, 43 text messages, 6 voicemails. I felt a mix of satisfaction and anxiety as I scrolled through them. The timeline of messages told a beautiful story of confusion, turning to anger. When I got home Sunday night, the shit had officially hit the fan. My voicemail was full of messages that evolved from confusion to anger to full-on rage. The first few were from my mom, around 3:15 p.m. on Thanksgiving. Honey, we're outside. Are you home? The cars are here, but no one's answering the door. Then my dad at 3:30. Son, where are you? Everyone's waiting. Call us back. Lisa at 3:45, already sounding annoyed. Seriously, where the hell are you? We've been standing outside for like half an hour. My boyfriend's getting hangry. By 4 o'clock, the tone had shifted dramatically. Jason, dude, what the actual fuck? Everyone's pissed and mom's freaking out. If this is some kind of joke, it's not funny. Mom again at 4:30, now panicked. We're getting worried. Please call us back immediately. If we don't hear from you in an hour, we're calling the police. And finally, my dad at 5:15, absolutely livid. I don't know what kind of stunt you're pulling, but this is completely unacceptable. Your mother is in tears. Call us now. I skimmed through the text messages, which told a similar story of increasing panic and rage. Apparently, they'd gone to a nearby restaurant for dinner, but it was packed because, duh, it was Thanksgiving, and they had to wait 2 hours for a table. Lisa's boyfriend's family had invited them over, but it was too late to accept. They ended up ordering Chinese food and eating it at my parents' small apartment. The final message was from my mom, sent Sunday morning. Your behavior is completely unacceptable. We all had to scramble to find somewhere to eat. Your father says you're not welcome at Christmas or any other family gathering until you apologize to everyone. Call me when you're ready to make amends. Make amends? Oh, of course. Let me get right on that. Let me grovel at the feet of my family for daring to not be their unpaid holiday butler. How selfish of me to want a basic level of respect. I shot a message into the family group chat, which, surprise, surprise, I'd magically added back to, because now they needed to yell at me. Wow, must have been tough looking out for me like this, making sure I wasn't burdened with a family trip while keeping me free to cook and clean for you all. So thoughtful. But good news, I'm officially retiring as the family chef, maid, and event planner. If an apology is needed, I think we all know who should be giving it. But don't worry, I won't hold my breath. Best of luck figuring out future holiday plans. I'm sure you'll manage. Somehow, the responses came in fast. I barely had time to blink before they started pouring in. Lisa, we didn't invite you because you're always so busy with your hosting and never have time for anything else. Oh, right. My fault. I was so busy cooking for them every holiday that they just had to exclude me from a trip. Very logical. Mom, I'm disappointed in you. This isn't how we raised you to behave. Well, Mom, I'm disappointed in you for treating me like a holiday Roomba for 15 years. Guess we're even. Dad, until you apologize to your mother, don't bother contacting us. You know what? Noted. I stared at those messages for a long time, genuinely marveling at the level of Olympic-tier mental gymnastics happening here. My family had managed to gaslight themselves into believing that I was the villain for not happily feeding them after they cut me out of a family trip. The audacity was almost impressive. And that's when it hit me. This cycle was never going to change. They weren't going to wake up one day and say, hey, maybe we treated him like garbage. No. The only way this ended was if I ended it. So I did something I should have done years ago. I left the group chat, blocked their numbers, poured myself a drink. And just like that, I was done. Done being the family workhorse. Done bending over backward for people who wouldn't lift a damn finger for me. It's been 6 months now. Christmas? No stress. Easter? No forced smiles while scrubbing dishes alone. My holidays are mine for the first time in my adult life. I decorate my house the way I want. Cook food I actually like. Turns out I hate turkey but love ham. And spend my time with people who actually value me. My friends have become my real family. We rotate hosting small fun gatherings where everyone contributes. You know, like actual functioning human beings. Turns out, holidays are supposed to be enjoyable, not unpaid labor camps. Last month, Uncle Frank called me. Hey kiddo, how have you been? He asked. There's a big family reunion planned for the summer. You gonna be there? Probably not, I told him. Can't say I blame you after what they pulled, he said, surprising me. I know exactly what happened. You do? I asked. Yeah, Megan told me everything. How they didn't invite you to Florida, then expected you to host Thanksgiving like nothing happened, then acted shocked when you weren't there waiting for them with a damn turkey. I laughed. So at least someone got the real story? Oh, I got it all right. And I called your dad out on it too. Told him he was being a selfish ass. The whole "we didn't think you'd be interested" excuse was total bullshit. You don't exclude one kid from a family trip, then expect them to be your personal chef days later? Well, that's refreshing to hear, I said, because they're still acting like I'm the unreasonable one. Your dad's always been stubborn. Gets it from my side, unfortunately. But I'm with you on this one, kid. What they did was wrong. Plain and simple. It felt good knowing at least one family member understood. Too bad it wasn't any of the ones who actually owed me an apology. I sometimes wonder if I went too nuclear. I mean, they're still my family, right? But my girlfriend? Yeah, I met someone amazing during all this drama. Thinks I did the right thing. She says I should have stood up for myself years ago. My friends all agree. They saw how stressed I was every holiday season and how my family never appreciated it. So, as far as I'm concerned, the ball's in their court. If they ever pull their heads out of their asses and offer a real apology, maybe we can build something better. Until then, I'll be over here, enjoying my stress-free holidays, eating food I actually want, and never lifting a damn finger for people who wouldn't do the same for me. Annie, you know what? Best decision I ever made. So, Reddit, AIDA for going no contact with my family after they excluded me from a vacation, but still expected me to host Thanksgiving?